Okay, now that we're familiar with Keyline's tools, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you an example of how this works with cloning. So using the same example that we had before, we're going to do a 2011 Honda CRZ. So we find the Honda CRZ information. This is in alphabetical order, so I already have it here. And what we want to do is, so it goes by, you'll see right there, let's try to get that into focus. You'll see Hyundai right there, Hummer. So you want to look at that. That's obviously the brand of the car. And then you look at the model. So Honda was on the other page. This is a continuation of it. So Honda CRZ is right there. We're looking at 2011. So this was a 2011-2013. And then we're going to look at the pod key. So it's a HD1 BTK right there. Chip type is a GK100. So let's go ahead. Let's find the pod key first. And we have our wall of keys. So let's see, Honda. Let's see, there it is. Okay. So I have it where the Keyline keys are at the bottom. You'll see that we have that red bag right there. Those are where the Keyline keys are. And the one that we need is right there. So what we do is we basically grab this. And now we have the key. This is the HD1 BTK. Oh, try to get that in focus. Yep. So that's the key. And you'll see those are the chip holders right there. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to grab the chip itself. So we have the pod key head and key. Now we just need to grab the chip. Let's go ahead. Let me do that. Let me go grab it real quick and I'll bring it over here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I have the different types of chips. Keyline has several ones. They're universal chips, and most of them are going to fall in line with the GK100 right there. So that's the one that they are telling us to grab. So it gets into focus. The chip type is the GK100. So we have the pod key, we have the chip. I'm going to zoom out and I'll show you what that looks like. So you'll see what a chip looks like. Okay, so that is, let's see if we can get that in focus. That is our GK100 chip right there. That little device is the transponder. It's basically encased in a little glass tube with a metal coil wrapped around, and this is what allows us to get a signal to the ignition coil to tell the car that this vehicle is, programmed, or this vehicle can be used on this vehicle to start. Okay, so next thing what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the actual Keyline cloning device. So we're going to come on over here. We got our computer over there. And let's go ahead and let's open these up. Okay, so we need the GK100 chip. So we have that. We have our pod key right here. Let's make sure our computer's on. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. It's pretty hard to do actually, but there we go. Okay, so I'm going to open this up. So always program first, and the reason why is you don't want to cut the key until you know that the programming is going to work on it. Sometimes it might not. So program first before you waste the key. Once it's programmed, then you can go ahead and cut the key. Sometimes you'll be most likely required to cut the key because you have to go to the vehicle and you'll have to put it into the ignition and turn it on. probably 3 times. It's a way for the computer or the chip to get the code from the vehicle. So I know it probably doesn't make sense right now, but let's go through the process and then you'll see what I'm talking about. But you will most likely need to cut the key, but I always program first to make sure that it works and I can actually clone this key. And then you have to cut the key, and then you have to go to the customer's car to turn it on a couple times to grab the code, bring it back to the machine. But this basically, the computer will prompt you on exactly what you need to do, so you don't have to worry too much about remembering, all the steps, because every key is a little different. Okay, so what we do now is this chip. There's different types of chips. That's why they give you 2 different ones. This is for smaller chips. This is for the bigger one plus a different type. So in our instance with the GK100, it fits directly into this big one right here. So we don't need, not gonna get into focus. Okay, so we don't need that smaller portion. What I also do is I don't put it in all the way. I'll leave it out like that just in case for whatever reason it doesn't program. So I just leave it like that until I know it's gonna work, and then I push it all the way in. So let's go ahead and let me show you how to do this real quick. What you need is first, you need to grab the customer's key. We prepped this pod key with the chip already. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the customer's key, we're gonna put it into this machine, and you'll see what it says on it. So let me go ahead, let me grab that customer key and I'll show you how this works. Okay, so we have the customer key. So same key that we've been using right here. So the thing about cloning is that you can't do remotes. It's really just the key to turn on the car. So just remember that. It doesn't work with these key combos or anything like that. It's literally just to create a transponder key, okay? So we have this. What we wanna do is I'm gonna zoom in right here so you can see the computer screen. Okay, so it says cloning, insert original key. All we do is we take this, we put it in there. You'll see it says reading key. Preparing sniff, waiting for version key. That's the new key that we just put together. Okay, so then what we do is I'm not gonna actually go through the programming because we don't have an actual key that we need to do. I will have examples later on and that you'll see those videos below, but I just want you to get familiar with the process, okay? So basically now it's basically saying, okay, put in this key, the one that we just set up, and then what we'll do is it'll say new key, basically like acknowledged, and then usually what happens is it'll say, okay, go to the customer's vehicle. So now we have to cut this. We have to cut this key to the customer's car, so you duplicate that. And then it'll tell you, go to the customer's car, put the key into the ignition, and not start it, but turn it on to the on position, and then take it out fully, and then put it back in, take it out fully, put it back in, and then take it out fully 3 times, usually 3 times, so that this can register the code on the vehicle. So once that happens, it'll basically tell you to put this one back in, and then it'll do some reading, and then it'll say probably put the original one back in, and then go ahead and put this one back in again. And then usually it's done after that. So you see right here, the insert, they're telling you the type of chip to put in. Obviously, of course, it can work with other ones, but the GK100, based on the manual that we have, that's the one that we want to use. This Crypto Philips PH, that's the transponder chip that's on that Honda CRZ key. That's the original one. The GK100 is an aftermarket universal chip that works with the Philips chip. So that's in a nutshell how the cloning works. Once you do that, You don't have to do anything else. You take that new key that you have that's been cut and cloned, and then you can go and you can just start the vehicle. There's no attaching anything else that you need to the vehicle to program anymore. You cloned the key, meaning that the car will register this key and this key as the same key. So that's cloning, and you know, there's different examples on when you do that. So you know, just keep that in mind. This is something in your tool belt that you can use, because you'll have to get creative sometimes with customers' vehicles, because you know, maybe the car won't get into programming mode and you can't program a new key. So what do? So cloning is an option, because you can just take the customer's key and you can just make a cloned key out of it. And so you don't even have to get into the car's computer system and program a new key. So that's Keyline. We will have examples, like I said, in other videos down below. We will give you examples of how to clone. Mostly, you know, they're not that different. It's very simple to do. Once you get familiar with it, you have the manual. You know, it's not that bad. It's really about figuring out when is the good time to use it. Whenever you can, program a key, just because they tend to be cheaper. Cloning is used in situations where it is a must. So aside from that, we'll go ahead and we'll also talk about the other cloning machine, which is Ilco, or also known as Silca. We'll go over how that cloning machine works.